Someone's asked a question. I've had many awakening experiences, and the understanding is quite clear of the subject. My mind went into silence many times, but comes back sooner or later. How can I get the realization permanently? That's a really good question. Really important question. Because this isn't about any experience. Whenever you go into a silence, that's an experience of silence. It means the silence is known to you, meaning the silence is an object. And the rule about objects is they always come and go. All objects come and go. So the silence is going to come and go. This is not about, and then maybe when you enter into a silence, you feel good, because it can feel very blissful when you're in silence. Because the ego is dropped away temporarily, or the bulk of the ego is dropped away temporarily. So the suffering is dropped away, because the ego is the suffering. The ego is the ignorance. But it's temporary, because the habitual tendencies that haven't been removed come back up again, and they, suddenly you want the ice cream, and you want the food, and you want the hot chocolate, and you want the Ferrari, and you want the job, and you want the pleasures, and you want all these things, and you worry about things, and all these habitual tendencies come back up again, because the mind was made dormant, but it was still there. It was there in seed form. Seed form meaning it can sprout again and give rise to this network, this network of thought and desires again. So silence, going into silence, is always creates a temporary silence. It always comes back again. The noise always comes back in, and it must, because this world is not real, meaning it's changing. So the realization is that you don't care about any. You realize that none of these experiences are fulfilling, because no object is fulfilling. Silence is not going to give you fulfillment. So what gives you fulfillment? It's the realization that none of these things give you fulfillment. You realize that nothing in your experience is going to fulfill you. Then you stop looking for fulfillment. You stop trying to be happy. Basically, you stop caring about being happy. And you don't care about the silence. Freedom doesn't care, because it's already whole and complete. It's already bliss. It's already completely whole and lacking nothing and perfect and pristine. It doesn't need silence. It doesn't care about noise or silence. It's always here, one with everything. It's always here, one with everything. It's not separate from anything, and yet it is not. No particular object is it. Just as the cinema screen is at one with the movie, but no particular part of the movie is it. Is the screen. So it's at one with the movie of life, but untouched by the movie of life simultaneously. And it's the realization of that. That's our fulfillment comes from that. And if we seek fulfillment anywhere else, it's doomed to failure, because anything else is unreal, meaning it changes. It's not satya. It's not satya, which means real. It's not a firm footing for enlightenment. So it's the realization that whatever happens, we're okay, in essence. Eventually, you stop caring about happiness. You just let it go. You're indifferent to happiness. Happiness comes and goes. There's no fulfillment in happiness. That's why Shankara called it the Ananda Maya Kosha. Ananda means happiness. Maya Kosha means the illusion of it's kind of like the illusory covering of happiness. Because the last veil the last barrier to self-realization is bliss. Because when we go into the samadhi experience or a silence, we feel blissful. And then if you cling to that, if you're looking for happiness there, then that's the last barrier. And when you let go of that, then you don't care about that even. Because the happiness comes and goes. So you're realizing you're okay no matter what's happening. That's the basic realization. No matter what's happening, the awareness is here. Ordinary awareness is here. That's the insight. That's what I call the awareness teachings. Now there's a purification aspect where once you have this insight, once you have this knowledge, the knowledge appears in the mind as an object actually, but it's there. You can apply this knowledge to your life. So when you find yourself worrying and looking for happiness in things, say you want the hot chocolate and you think, oh, I really need hot chocolate. Or the chocolate cake we said, didn't we? We had the example of the chocolate cake earlier. Someone who feels like they need a chocolate cake to be satisfied and fulfilled in life. When you feel the desire and the urge and the addictive tendency towards any object, but let's just take the chocolate cake as an example, then you apply the understanding. You say, okay, before I go down the route of opening up the fridge and taking the chocolate cake out and eating it, let me think about this first. Let me think about this first. What do I want? Do I want lasting freedom? Is lasting happiness my goal? Yes, it is. My goal is freedom. Is my goal temporary pleasure? No, my goal is lasting pleasure. Yes. Do I really want that? Then you have to figure out that's what you really want. Maybe you don't really want that. Maybe you don't really want enlightenment. Maybe you don't really want freedom. Maybe you don't really want moksha. But if you decide that's what you really want, you say, okay, I want lasting freedom, not some temporary freedom, which just gives rise to more suffering, and I'm back where I started again, suffering. And I'm just as, at the end of it all, I'm no better than where I left off. Or do I actually want lasting freedom? So I want lasting freedom. Will I get lasting freedom from an object? No, I won't. Am I whole and complete as I am? Well, I might not feel it, but I remember feeling it. So and I trust the scriptures, and I listen to someone like Tom or whatever, and he said that I'm free already. So I'll trust that. And I'm saying, okay. And I've also heard that if I look for happiness in objects, that's going to give rise to suffering. I'm also strengthening the ego when I'm doing that. So you apply this knowledge in your daily life. You say, okay, you find a way that works for you. This is just one way. I'm not going to eat that chocolate cake. Because is it going to lead me closer to liberation? No, it's not. Is it just going to continue the ego and continue the same old process that's always happened in me and continue my suffering? Yes, it will. And then whatever your particular addiction is, you can look at the specific consequences. So you can say, is it going to make me put on loads of weight? Is it going to, give me calories? Or is it going to make me a nicer person? Or is that the kind thing to do? Or, whatever it is for you. Am I going to be exhausted the next day if I go out socializing when I don't really need to? Do I really need to turn the TV on and watch this TV program? Do I need to rely on these objects for peace? Or am I going to learn to come into contact with that part of myself that is peaceful and wean myself off the drug of gross and subtle objects which I've become addicted to? So this is a way of disentangling yourself from the ego and thought and all the objects.